Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's time for things that make you go, mmm. And today we are continuing our series on love languages. We did touch last week, and this week is acts of service. And acts of service are, unfortunately, not on my, I didn't put up my little cheat sheet there. So no, not unfortunately the acts of service. Unfortunately, I, forgot to do what I need to do. No, acts of service are amazing. They are actually my second love language. My first being touch. So we're doing this series in order of the ones that are the most prominent for me. Yours will be different, or they may not. There's only so many combinations, with only 5 of them. But we definitely want to explore every one because each love language is important in its own way, whether it's your primary language or your partner's language or neither of your primary languages. They are still valuable in expressing how you feel about each other and making each other feel special. It doesn't necessarily have to be a love relationship, as in, husband and wife, partners, uh, whatever it may be. We also speak these languages with our kids, with our friends, with our family as well. However, the most common way to look at it is a love relationship or lover relationship, because hopefully all of your relationships are loving. So today we're looking at acts of service from Gary Chapman's very famous book, The 5 Love Languages. If you don't know your love languages, I will be posting the link to the quiz for you later. And then you can take a look and see how yours are ranked. As I said, my first one is touch, my second one is acts of service. And then next week we will be doing, I will remember by the end of the show which one we're doing next time. So the definition of service is an action of helping or doing work for someone. Pretty straightforward. If you have ever said or heard said to you, actions speak louder than words, or talk the talk, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk, those are signs that service are important to the person who is saying those things. Because lip service does not work for people who need acts of service. You can say you're going to do the dishes as many times as you want, but if you never do them, it's not gonna cut it. And or you can talk about how, oh yeah, again, I'll wash your car once, maybe, eventually. That if you are doing acts of service, it's not about the talking, it's about the doing. And no amount of talking is going to cut it. So it really does. It's about making your partner feel appreciated, because that's what all the love languages are, and make their life easier. So if there's something you can do to make your partner's life easier, that is an act of service. I warned my current boyfriend that I was going to be talking about him during this one, because he is a great acts of service person. And that is wonderful for me because I am all about acts of service as well as touch. I'm going to keep coming back to that. And all of my partners in the past have been not that great with acts of service. And I've always had this thing in my head about, I don't want to nag. Being nagging is, people are always talking about how women are such bad naggers, and I didn't want to be that person. But sometimes it just came out because, like I said, walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. So I would constantly be, oh, you said you were going to do this and it hasn't been done yet. Or, why can't you help me more with the dishes, with cleaning the house, with doing the yard work, with cooking the meals, whatever it happened to be, because I wasn't getting the acts of service. So I was constantly looking for that and hoping for it, to make my life easier and to feel appreciated, and it wasn't happening. And the last few months, it has been happening quite a lot. So if you're watching, thank you. um, the best acts of service are spontaneous and supersede expectations. So when you, they aren't asked for, they aren't expected, they just come out of that place of love and appreciation and are way more than what the person might even ask for. Um, it can be something so simple like noticing noticing that something needs to be cleaned, that something needs to be picked up off the floor, that the cat barfed and you're just going to clean it up without any fanfare, without any, I need a pat on the back. It's just, you just do it. The flip side of that is that we can overlook what gets done regularly. So if your partner is doing an act of service on a regular basis, like say mowing the lawn or doing the dishes or washing your car, you can get complacent about it and forget that that's an act of service. That's something that is serving you. That is something that the other person doesn't necessarily want to do or need to do, but they're doing it anyway. And so be really careful about taking advantage of the acts of service. Say the word thank you a lot. Be appreciative, be loving, be over the moon about getting those acts of service, because not everybody gets that. And count yourself lucky if you are getting acts of service, especially if it's one of your main love languages. And then, of course, if you grow complacent, the person who's giving grows frustrated because they're not getting, you're not noticing the acts of service that are being given. And it's not about, giving an act of service is not about getting the accolades. Service is about doing the work because you want to. And if you're doing it all the time and not getting acknowledged, it can be very frustrating. Maybe we've all been there. We do, at work, there's something that we do and we do well, and it's just taken advantage of and taken for granted. So think about that when you have someone doing acts of service for you. You aren't taking it for granted. So small acts lead to big reactions. Hopefully. If you are receiving as well as is being given, hopefully there will be a big reaction. So some of the small acts that you can do are, I've already mentioned a few of them in passing. Washing the car. My sister, when she's away, her husband will always wash her car for her. It's a simple act. It doesn't take long, but she really appreciates it when she comes home and she has a clean car. If you're not the primary cook every once in a while. It just takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of preparation, and it means so much. Take out the trash on occasion without being asked. Clean the house without being asked, or even just clean one little thing. The dishwasher hasn't been run. Let's do that. The cat litter needs to be changed. I'll just take care of that. The dusting needs to be done. Whatever it is, just know the key to acts of service is noticing. And not everybody's very good at that. But if you start changing your mindset to that space of what can I do? How can I help? How can I lighten the load? Then these things will start to pop up. things like taking the kids away for a few hours or walking the dog. All of those things are acts of service. So what do you need to look for to find those acts of service? As I was just saying, it's about noticing. It's about checking around, finding the small things, really paying attention. So what's their favorite show? How do they take their coffee? What are their favorite types of movies? Their favorite food? What kind of activities does your loved one enjoy? All of those little tiny things, paying attention to those little things. Like, for example, I hate dill. And remembering that I hate dill is actually is an act of service. Is when you cook and you would normally put dill in it and you don't put dill in it, that tells me that you paid attention. Or if you see the trailer for a movie and you're like, oh, I saw this, I think you'll really, really like this. I saw this this trailer and it looks like you're totally your kind of movie and it stars someone that you really like. Let's go see it. You know, those little things are acts of service. What are things that your partner, your loved one, your family member doesn't enjoy? Maybe they don't like vacuuming. You know, I'll do any kind of housework, but I hate vacuuming. Do the vacuuming every once in a while. I don't mind yard work, but I hate mowing the lawn. Mow the lawn. Maybe they hate doing finances, and I'm talking about myself here. They don't like doing budgets, or they don't like doing spreadsheets, and that's something you're good at. Do it for them. If they don't like doing research, I'm always asking people to do research for me. It's like, could you check this out for me? Because I hate doing that kind of stuff. And when someone else does it, as not because I've browbeat them or I'm just so miserable about it, when they do it because they know it's going to help, that's a huge it's a relief, it's a joy, it's an act of love, really, it is. What works better for you for your calendar? You know, maybe making the kids lunches in the morning is too much for one person, but is a lot easier for the other person because they go to work later. Or dropping off the kids, taking the pets to the vet. All different kinds of things might fit into your schedule better than someone else's. And taking those over without being asked is an amazing act of service. Let me just flip my page here. And your skills versus other people's skills. You know, we've heard it a million times. Opposites attract. So if I'm not a great cook, I'm probably attracted to someone who is. If I'm not very handy, I'm probably attracted to someone who is. If I'm not good at numbers, I'm probably attracted to someone who is. So find out what your skills are versus your loved one's skills. And just take it over. Do it. And be of service to each other in that way. The biggest thing is to do it out of love, to do it out of a sense of joy and cooperation and compromise, which we've talked about before, rather than necessity or the word is right here in my head and it's not coming out. Rather than a sense of I'm sorry, I can't find it. But just it's just about being there for each other. Acts of service are of value even when it's not your primary language, whether it's your language, your partner's language, or neither of your languages. It just makes being together that much juicier, that much more joyful, because you're sharing the load, and that leads to more happiness overall. It's not always easy. It does require time, preparation, some thought. So as you're learning to do acts of service, as you're encouraging your partner to do acts of service, be patient, be generous with each other, and most of all, be thoughtful. Because being thoughtful leads to acts of service without any effort at all. There's a website called Created with Love, and it's an offshoot of the 5 love languages, and they have a lot of date night challenges, and this is one for acts of service, which I found kind of fun. You need a piece of paper, a pen, and a pack of playing cards, and on your paper you write down some acts of service that you would like done, and you both write them down, and you assign jacks, as in, jacks, queens, and kings of the deck to those things. And you go through the playing cards, and you keep the ones that are face cards. And whoever gets the most jacks, the person will do those for you. Or if you get more queens, partner gets more queens, then you do those acts of service for them. Or if you get equal numbers, then you do them together. And while you're going through the cards to find the face cards, you're going to come across the number cards. So each number is assigned a different activity as well. So for example, if you get a number 1, your partner can steal one of your face cards. If you get a number 5, you have to tell your partner 5 things that you appreciate about them. If you get a number 8, you give your partner a kiss, and so on. So it's a fun little activity to encourage more acts of service. And so try it out, see if you like it. As I said, I will put the quiz on the in the comments later for you to check out if you don't know what your love languages are, and just to read up more about what they are and what they're all about. We will be doing the rest of them over the next few weeks. So next week's will be receiving gifts. So that's my 3rd love language, and we will talk about that in more detail next week, and I look forward to you joining me for that. In the meantime, please remember about my books. If you have not yet picked it up, Serial Love is the erotic novel. It's an erotic thriller. So the woman, the heroine, is named Kathy, and she discovers what her sexuality is all about after her marriage breaks up. And during that time, she's being stalked by a serial killer. So there's a little bit of heat, there's a little bit of mystery, there's a little bit of scariness, which my lovely friend would not read. She's does not like violence in any way, shape, or form. So even though she read the entire book except for that one chapter, and she loved it except for that one chapter. It's available in 3 formats. You can get it through Amazon on Kindle or paperback. This, of course, is the paperback. Or you can get it on my website, which is thebadkitty.com, thebadkitty.com. And when you get it on the website, you get it in PDF format. And you also get 3 gifts with it as well. So these are all projects that I've worked on in the past. The first is a DVD called Achieve Your Ultimate Success, which is a number of people talking about success and the steps to take to get there, and I am featured on that. There's also Living Proof, which is an anthology of short stories similar to Chicken Soup for the Soul. put together by Lisa Nichols from The Secret. And its subtitle is Celebrating the Gifts That Came Wrapped in Sandpaper. Because often the things that are the most hurtful and painful in our lives are actually the biggest gifts. And you can read many, many stories about that, including mine. And finally, the Bad Kitty Handbook. This book used to be available on Amazon. It is no longer available on Amazon. So the only way you can get it is by getting my erotic novel on my website, thebadkitty.com, as a reminder. And this is, I've suddenly forgotten the subtitle, A Journey Towards Authentic Female Sensuality. And this is basically my philosophy of life, about being sensual, about being yourself, about being authentic. So I hope that you will pick those up, and I really appreciate your time today talking about acts of service. Your homework, I forgot to do homework last week, is to find one way this week to give an act of service to someone you love. Be observant, be aware of what they may need, what they enjoy, and find a way to act on that for them. And thank you again for joining me today. Happy Tuesday, and stay sexy, everybody.